Hello. First of all, to the person that came up to me in the pub the other day, sorry for not stopping to talk longer, but I don't normally get recognised, so it's a bit of a surprise when I do. Secondly, this video is going to be about the difference between thou, thee, you and ye, and the rules governing that difference, because there were rules governing it. Thou would have been pronounced thu in Old English, which is cognate with the German word du, so a sentence in German like du bist, you are, would be something like thou beest, or the equivalent of something like thou beest if you calced it into early modern English. Old English thu became Middle English thu with a voicing of the initial consonant, and then the great vowel shift hit and the oo monophthong diphthongized. So a monophthong, if you don't know, is a vowel where your tongue and your lips stay in the same place the whole time you're pronouncing it, so oo. Whereas what we have now, ow, your whole vocal tract moves while you're saying the vowel. So the transition was probably quite steady. It would have gone from thu to something like thou to something like though, and then eventually reached thou. This was the nominative form of the word, so it was the form you'd use of the subject of the sentence, so the thing that's doing something, the thing that's acting. So for example, thou goest, thou speakest, what hast thou? The accusative form was thee, so this was the form used of the object of a sentence, the thing that's having something done to it. So for example, I give thee, I suppose that's probably dative, I like thee, the bear will eat thee. In Old English this was the, and then it became thee, and then it became thee. Until a couple of centuries ago, ye and you were the plural equivalents of thou and thee. So they were used if you were addressing lots of people. But it was the formal way of addressing one person. You might have heard of the, I think it's the, I'll look it up, hang on, tu vu distinction, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the tu vu distinction in French, which is where, you know, you have a sort of informal way of saying you, and then you have a polite way of saying you, which is often which often correlates with the plural way of saying you, and that existed up until sort of early modern English. So, you know, exactly what situations you'd use thou and what situations you'd use ye and you is, you know, it's unclear, and it probably differed from place to place, from region to region. You could probably take modern German as a vague guideline. So in German you have du and sie. In early modern English you might have used thou when you were talking to your children, when you were talking to your employees, when you were trying to be rude to someone. If you were talking to someone you'd known a long time, you know, you'd call your friend thou. Whereas ye and you might have used to refer to your employer, to somebody who was obviously higher up than you in a sort of social context. Your parents, if when you're a child, you might use it to address someone when you meet them for the first time. But as I say, the exact boundaries would differ from place to place, and it's hard to know exactly what the etiquette was and how it worked, because it's one of those things people don't really talk about very much, because it's so, you know, it's so obvious to everyone. It doesn't need writing down. Thou still exists in certain places and is actually used day to day, especially by older speakers in the north of England, although it's becoming vanishingly rare. I know some younger speakers still use variants of it in you know, very, very rarely. The unstressed form is normally the. But of course, in most of the English-speaking world, it's long obsolete. The interesting question is, why is it long obsolete? Because it was, when it was used, part of the core vocabulary of the language. It was a pronoun. It was so deeply rooted in the language, and obviously having a distinction between, well, having a distinction between a polite and an impolite, a sort of formal and informal you, is just a cultural thing. But having a distinction between a plural you and a singular you, that's a very a very useful, sorry, distinction to have, and it allows you to navigate conversation in a clearer way. So why, you know, in modern English dialects, that distinction has reappeared in some cases. So in England you have yous or you lot for you plural. In America I know you have y'all, you have other ones that I don't know how to pronounce. You know, so if the distinction is reappearing, why did it disappear in the first place across most of the English-speaking world? Well, the explanation that's normally given is some variant of people called each other you because they were worried about coming across as impolite if they called each other thou. So this might be because thou suddenly became a bit stigmatized and people were there was some silly etiquette rule about not using thou. It might be because people were moving to urban centres, cities a lot more. They were meeting new people, they didn't quite know the etiquette of the area, so they said you just in case they said thou and offended someone. It's hard to say, and there's probably a combination of factors like that. But it's just, you know, it strikes me as a bit of a just so story, but it's just a demonstration that it's not that dramatic a change, really. It could easily, it's a change that shouldn't really surprise us. One item people do get confused about is the whole ye old thing. So if you see like a ye old shop or something like that, because of a QI episode which did explain the situation quite well, they pointed out that ye in the situation of ye old should just be pronounced the or the old, just like in modern English, because of I suppose a scribal interchangeability between the letter thorn, which used to represent the sounds, and the letter y. So you'll have the being written like ye, and that being written like yt, just as a sort of a scribal abbreviation. So indeed, if you see something that says ye old, it should be pronounced the old. This is true, but it doesn't extend to the pronoun ye. So hear ye, or hair ye, as it would probably be pronounced in sort of the southeast in early modern English. It wouldn't be hear the, it would be hear ye, because that's the pronoun and not the definite article. The way you can remember it is by thinking, if I translated it to modern English, would it be the or would it be you? If it would be the in modern English, then it would be the in early modern English. If it would be you in modern English, it would be ye or you in early modern English. There's also a misconception among some people because of this that you evolved from thou, or thou evolved from you, or some combination of those things, and that's not true. They're distinct words, and as far as we know, they've always been distinct words back to Proto-Germanic. This has been a short. I always say this has been a short one, although it's not actually been that short. I expect it to be a short one, so I put this has been a short one in the script, and then learn it, and then it doesn't turn out that short. But this has been a shortish one, but I'll be coming out with a couple of more interesting ones soon, hopefully when I get home. So I will see you then. Thank you for watching.